Buckle on in for a conversation with 12-year-old Baze Wilder, one of the best rock climbers in the world, not only for his age, but across all climbers. Get a chance to hear conversations with him and his parents talking about risk, joy in the outdoors, assessment, and what his youth looked like that brought him to this place today. Get ready for a fun one. Welcome to the Avid Adventurer. I'm your host, Dave Secunda, founder of Avid for Adventure, and I am psyched you're here. Each week, just like today, I'll bring you an interview with a kiddo, young adult, or parent as they share not only the details of their noteworthy outdoor pursuits, but also how they navigate risk, challenge, setbacks, and service in their journey. It'll bring a smile to your face and you'll feel your heart expand as you get to know the inner landscapes of these athletes. After listening, I know you'll feel uplifted and ready for your own next Avid adventure. So let's dive in. Baze Wilder, I'm so excited to have this opportunity to talk to you.
I'm so excited as well.
Give us a moment, just introduce yourself, share the vital details about you.
Yeah, I'm Baze Wilder, 12 years old, from live in Boulder, Colorado, and yeah, I love to climb so much.
I hear you love to climb. I've watched you online climbing some, which is just the inspiration for connecting with you on this call. But before I talk about that, let me give you the opportunity for you to share a little bit about your climbing history. You know, what are you most proud of as far as like your escapades and your adventures in the outdoors?
Yeah, I'm proud of a ton of things in my climbing career, but like what's something really cool is that like I've started at like a really young age with like having my parents be really awesome with like the outdoors and like bringing me out climbing a bunch. And like what's a really cool thing is that from the ages like 2 to 5, I did the the 5 flat irons, and it was really cool because like I was just like getting out as like a youngster and just like
oh my gosh. So just for any listeners who don't know what the flat irons are, share what are the flat irons? Like how big are they? Where are they? And so just I'm picturing you 2 to 5 years old on the flat iron. So say more about that.
So like in Boulder, like there's the mountain range, like the Rocky Mountains, like there's like a bunch of these like really cool rocks, and like there are 5 like really specific ones that are like the biggest, and they're in like kind of really cool like triangular shapes, and like they're just like pretty like really fun.
How long are they? How far are they?
I don't know.
I'm going to say they're pitches and pitches long. So, they're hundreds to probably 1,000 feet, on these things. So again, I just want listeners to be aware, like 2 to 5 years old going out and getting on it on the flat irons. That is an awesome start. I love it.
There's a lot of like scrambling too, which is cool. And like also a really funny thing about this is that I was like starting to like on the first one, I did the second flat iron, which is like the easiest one when I was 2. And like I wasn't really able to walk. So like basically my mom was carrying me up, and then I was doing like the climbing part. It was really fun.
My gosh. Mom carries you to the base and you get on the rock and got after it.
It was like a pretty longer hike up to there. So like I was like not walking as much on the hike.
I love it.
I had to be careful.
If that's your start, what else are you proud of in the outdoors?
I'm proud of like a lot of like some of my best like achievements in climbing. Like a lot of like my hardest like sends of climbing. I'm really like proud of myself, and like I was like when I've done them, I was like super psyched to like do them, and just like it's so fun.
What are some of the harder routes that you have climbed? Again, just to level set for folks so that they understand kind of the level of climbing that you're doing these days.
Well, one of my hardest sport climbing. So like on ropes and stuff
Mm-hmm.
is it was in like Kentucky, the Red River Gorge, and
Mm-hmm.
it was called like Southern Smoke. It was a really cool climb, and it was 514C. I
Wow.
was super psyched to do that one.
Oh my gosh.
And when I was
I'm totally proud of you. I just got to
Thank you
say.
so much. When I was 10, we went out there on a trip, and I was like projecting it for the trip, and I was like on one of our last days, I like had a really good attempt, and like a bunch of people were at that area trying other stuff on this like wall with a bunch of like 514s. And when I got to the top, I was just so excited, so ecstatic, and just everybody would like went off like so loud and was just like cheering and clapping, and it was like such a like crazy moment for me, and it was just like breathtaking.
I love it. Bays, I wish listeners could actually see you as you talk about your climbing, because this is one of the things that just made me want to talk to you so much is you are so enthusiastic. And a lot of people come out with some big egos in the climbing world. You might have noticed this before. And what you tend to talk about is like this incredible feeling of just being proud of yourself and accomplishment, and then also being in the outdoors with your friends. I really have listened to you talk about that as well as such a great part of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so tell me, let's switch away from climbing for a second, or it might be climbing, but let me ask you the question just so folks can know something else about you. Um, you know, finish the sentence like, if you really knew me, you would know that what? What's one of the things that people might not know about you?
I would know that you would know that if you really knew me, then you would know that I love problem solving in general. And
Hmm.
like I'm really like fun to be around. Like I love like hanging out with my friends and stuff. And like with my problem solving, I love like doing all sort of like problems or stuff. Like I love like doing solving the Rubik's cube, or like doing like
Hmm.
puzzles, like all sorts of like different puzzles. And also I love math. And like math is like really fun for me because like also there's this like really cool competition in like schools that we can do where it's called MathCounts, and it's like these
Hmm.
really tricky problems. And then like you can qualify. There's like a school competition, and you can qualify. And then like there's like a chapter competition, which is like part of like the state. And then there's a state competition, and then there's like a nationals competition, and like it's really cool. Like last year I did it and I got to states, and it was super awesome. And
Oh my gosh.
and the first competition like at our school is next week, and I'm really excited to do it. I'm
I
like
can literally see the excitement when you're talking about it. It's kind of the same excitement when you talk about your climbing as well, and your other things, which is just, Baze, I just got to say, it's so beautiful in a person to just see that total, like, unbounded. I am so excited about this. And it makes
yeah.
me excited just to hear you talk about the math competition and your climbing in the outdoors. So, rewind a little bit. You shared about this one situation when you were, learning to climb at age 2 out on the flat irons with your mom
Yeah.
carrying you to the base and then climbing up. Are there any other early experiences in your life that you remember around getting into the outdoors, or as you were increasing your climbing, that really come to mind that you think are just, important stories about who you are?
Yeah. I feel like at like a really young age I was like my parents were like really getting me out into the outdoors a ton. Like
Mm-hmm.
in preschool, I my mom had me like not go like fully, like only like 2 days or so a week. So the other days we would get like nature days, and we would like go around, like find like icy rivers, and then like go on like boots and stuff, and just like walk through them and like have fun. And like we would build forts all the time. Like right next to our house we have this like area like we call it like the open space, but like it's this really nice like loop, um 3 mile loop. And it's like we would like build a ton of like massive forts. And one time I built this like massive fort when I was maybe like 5 or so, or 6, 5, 6, 7, or one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And we like, it was so massive, and like the logs we used for it, it was like a teepee style, kind of like teepee, half lean-to on like
Mm-hmm.
other like tree branches. And it was like probably like 15 feet tall. And
Wow.
we like, it's still there today. And like,
Oh my gosh.
it's super fun to come back and just like visit it and like see what it's like, cool to like see what other people have like added to it.
Yeah. Well, I feel it reminds me of when I was 12, like thinking about some of my stories growing up. Not quite like I grew up in urban Los Angeles. I didn't have some of those same experiences, but boy, that is awesome to think back about those and how they influenced you. It sounds like your parents really. I mean, it feels like to me you're also kind of sharing some gratitude for your parents and kind of setting you up in the outdoors
Yeah.
for the ability to have all these different outdoor experiences.
Yeah. I'm so happy that my parents were like such like, so like, helpful to me, like just like enthusiastic about like getting me outdoors and just like having fun with me, and like not having me be on like screens too much, and like yeah.
I get it. I
And
mean,
I'm so happy that
I
I'm
think
so
it's
happy that
really, yeah, go ahead, Base.
awkward. I'm so happy that like they did that, because like I'm glad I'm just like being outdoors instead of like inside just like playing like video games or something all the time, or like watching TV. It's like so much
Yeah.
like, more like fun to be outside.
I love it. And I also love that, you share with the same enthusiasm building a fort and thinking about what people have been in it since then as climbing a 514, which, certainly just again, to frame it for those listening, you are certainly one of the best young climbers, but really also one of the best climbers out there right now, period. And so it's just, I love just seeing like your general enthusiasm, which clearly, spills over into the climbing and everything else you do, and your friendships as well. Talk a little bit, like before we started recording this, I asked you kind of what you did to set up when you were going to try a hard climb to kind of really get ready to do that. And you shared two different things. Can you share what those things were? That again, for listeners, there was one about like seeing in your mind, and another one about a move that you do to prep. To share a little bit about what those things are, those rituals that you might do.
So in like on the climbing team that I'm on, Team ABC, we do like a bunch of like it's really cool how like they come up with like have really like nice things for us to do, like
Mm-hmm.
good ideas for us to do before the climb. And like they've taught me a lot about like visualization, and like it's very important, because like it can like sometimes like before I'm like about to attempt like a really hard climb, I visualize the climb, and I just like visualize myself climbing it perfectly, just like flawless, and just like feeling so good on it, and it builds like a lot of confidence in me, and it like
Mm.
helps me prepare for like the climb, and helps me be able to like try really hard and try my hardest.
I
And the other
love
thing,
that.
in
Mhm.
ABC we do like some like they've come up with these like 5 steps that we do
Mhm.
before we do the climb. And the steps are first one is read the route. Second one is um like chalk up.
Mhm.
Third one is anchor. And so like that anchor is and the fourth one is try hard, and then fifth one try harder. I mean try different. Try different is what I meant. So that anchor is like really cool, because like it's just like a motion to do to like kind of like, for mine it's like standing up, like going like breathing hard, and then like putting my shoulders down, like, and like to just like, it's a motion to just like get me psyched, and just like help me like prepare to like try hard.
I love it. Do you ever use the anchor or visualization in things other than climbing in your life?
Well, sometimes, well, I don't really know. Maybe like, um, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, no worries. Have you ever? Let me go in specifically to climbing. Um, can you recall a time when you were scared on a climb?
Uh, well, I'm doing like a ton of in climbing. There's like kind of a bunch of different like types of climbing. So there's like
Hmm.
route climbing, sport. There's bouldering.
Hmm.
There's trad climbing, and then there's like ice climbing and stuff, and then there's
Hmm.
a bunch of like other branches that are like incorporating some of those. But
Hmm.
mainly like I do a bunch of sport climbing and a bunch of bouldering, and
Hmm.
recently I've been trying to get into trad climbing
Hmm.
mostly, and um I've been really it's like really hard because it's like you have to very it's like the climbing is kind of scary sometimes because it's like you have to place your own gear in like cracks and stuff. And so
Hmm.
like sometimes it's hard to like trust your pieces
Yeah.
and like be able to like commit to moves. So like
Hmm.
I've felt a lot of fear while
Hmm.
trad climbing, like even on like easier like climbs.
How do you
Um
deal with that? How do you deal with that fear? What do you do with that when you feel that come up into your body?
Sometimes I try to just like breathe like deeply and then just like be like say to myself like it's like I'm gonna be safe. Like I'm gonna try to trust like my pieces of gear and then just like
Mm.
deep breaths and then try to like be able to like just commit to the moves.
Mm. I love it. I love it. Those are such, one of the things I really like about this in general is that all of these things, although you're talking about climbing, they're so relevant for life. They're like there will be situations that are scary in life where it's hard to figure different things out, and it just feels like these different skills that you have acquired around climbing. They're life skills. They're life
Yeah,
skills in dealing with social situations or
problem.
technical situations or problem solving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I am like short for my age
Hmm.
and like especially short for like climbing. So
Hmm.
like also like I really have to like work through problem moves that are like relatively straightforward for like people like taller than me. So I have
Hmm.
to like really be able to be good at problem solving so that I can like really like so that I can figure out beta that works for myself. And
Hmm.
like it's really interesting how it's really I feel like it's fun to problem solve because it's just like you're looking at whatever thing, like thinking of like impossible beta, like maybe feet first or like a knee bar on like a crimp or something, or just like some like insane way to do it. And like sometimes I can like find those crazy beta and make them work for myself. And
I
I
love
feel
that.
so fun. It's like makes me feel really happy when I just like am able to like find out a beta that works for me, and it's just like it just is like feels really good.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you one more question, then I'm going to see if your parents will join us for the conversation as well. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how has the outdoors or climbing brought you closer together as a family, or like created family bonds? Are there ways that that's happened?
Yeah, I feel like it's really nice to like when I love like backpacking and like camping and stuff with my family and like also like doing 14ers or so. And like I feel like whenever we go on like hikes or like climbing trips or um like camping, it's like brings us together and it's like really nice to just like have quality time just like and also like when you're hiking or so like you're just like out there and just like it's like really nice to just be out in the wilderness like with like my family who I love, and like it's just super nice, and it's like brought us so much like joy as a family.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Can you invite your mom and dad in? Are they there that we can bring them into the picture?
Yeah. Mama, Papa.
He's never done an interview like this, so
excellent. Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like he's done everything else. Like to start him young on this one too. Excellent.
Or it's wider than it is showing us as well.
Probably. It's all good on this one. There you go. Yeah, you'll just have to cuddle in as a family and you can do it up there. Well, gosh, Sandy and Matt, thank you both for joining in on this conversation as well and chiming in after the one-on-one with Baze here. I would love to hear from both of you. I mean, I've heard from Baze what an important part the outdoors has played, obviously, in his life, climbing and beyond, just like this general love of being in the outdoors. How about for both of you? Did you grow up having time in the outdoors, or is it something that came in latter life? Like, how did this become something in your family that was such a foundational material that everything seems to rest upon?
So, yeah, I grew up in a family that also got outside a lot. My dad was really into hiking, and so as like a little kid, we would go on little backpacking trips. He was also into sailing, and so he had a little sailboat, and we would do some like overnight sailing trips. And so that was sort of, I would say, instilled in me and my brother at an early age, and we were getting outside, and that to some, like, he never did any climbing or anything, but that experience to some extent ultimately led to our early climbing experiences as teenagers.
Nice. And how about you, Sandy? How about your upbringing?
I didn't have that many opportunities, but it was more like neighborhood kids always playing outside until dark, until the parents called us in. So I didn't have like the wilderness or any of those like adventurous kind of outdoor experiences that a lot of kids have, which I guess is why I appreciate it more now and really want Baze to experience those.
Got it. And so when I originally connected with all three of you, it was by cell phone in Waco tanks on a family trip out there. Is that common that you're all out and about on a climbing trip together as a family, or how do things like that typically unfold?
Definitely, yeah. Every school break that there is, I used to be a teacher, and so I always had the same breaks as Baze. And so every spring break, winter break, Thanksgiving, like any chance we got, we would get in our camper and go somewhere, usually on a climbing trip.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, like, especially when Baze was really young, this is how we chose to spend our free time. And so I was a grad student early on, and so I was on the school schedule when he was born and when he was really young. And so, I mean, this is just what we wanted to do. Like, prior to that, I had lived on the road traveling and climbing, and so that's how we spent our free time. So whenever we had the opportunity, we'd get out there. And then over time, as Baze grew older, he was able to like participate more, but he was always in that environment.
His first road trip was actually when he was 2 months old. As soon as he was born, it was when my summer break for teaching started.
And we went to Waco.
No, actually we didn't. Oh. We went to, you were 6 months old when we went there first. When he was 2 months old, we went to the Needles in California. We started there and went to Tahoe and that area. So we were on a 2-month-long trip in our camper when he was just 2 months old, and we would carry him in our little packs and hike along and do some climbing. We usually, for climbing, we had a third person, obviously someone, to stay behind with Baze and the other person to climb.
Yeah. We used we used to have 2 dogs. And, like, we'd always like take them on our adventures with us, and like it was like we would bring them to Waco, and they couldn't go in the park sadly, but they would like love to like run around like in our campgrounds, and like we would always take them on our adventures. But like sadly, One of them.
Emma was like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, passed away, like in Waco, and it was really sad.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That
Then
sounds really
recently,
sad.
Our other one, she was 16, Daphne. Their names were Daphne and Emma, but recently Daphne, she was like 16 years old, and so she was getting really old and like so sadly we had to like put her down. But I really miss them, and like I wish we could still be like have them and like take them on camping trips and stuff.
Totally. Well, Baze, I can see how sad you are, even just like talking about not having your dogs right now. And 16 years, that is a beautiful dog life. That is a big dog life. And it sounds like they had some big adventures with you throughout your life as well. You know, there's a lot of parents that listen to this podcast. And so I kind of want to ask you two, as parents, to talk about risk a little bit and kind of how risk assessment and tolerance plays into the family equation for you individually and for Baze. And as Baze is growing and he is more, choosing his own adventure as well, how risk plays into this whole picture. I think a lot of parents are really, they kind of wonder how to navigate and what the appropriate path is as a parent. And I also want to acknowledge both of you, and it sounds like Sandy in particular, for this early like preschool days of forced school that Baze had, and how influential clearly it was in what he shared about those early days of being in rivers and forests and stomping around. But yeah, talk about about this risk assessment and kind of how you decide what's in bounds, out of bounds, and those sorts of things.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a great question. Risk it's a very interesting thing, both as a parent, the risks that you take, and then the risks you allow your kids to take. And from at the early side of that, like I had to question a lot of the choices I made in my climbing and the risks that I was willing to take as a parent, just like because I didn't want to be in a situation where something could go wrong and I wouldn't be there for Baze completely. And so I grappled with that early on, and now the tables have turned a little bit, and he's at a point where in his climbing he gets into situations where he has to take on some risk to achieve what he's doing, and some of that risk is there's always like a risk of failure, and I think that's really good for people to struggle with. The challenge in climbing is that sometimes failure can come with like injury and danger, objective danger. Yeah, go ahead, Baze.
Also, wait, never mind. This might not be bad.
No worries. So like when there's risk of that involves some like injury or danger or even like the potential for death, then you have to take that very seriously, and we do. But we also don't want to like stifle what he's trying. I think like we would never have him in a situation where like he could like die or get seriously injured. I mean, of course, freak accidents can happen anywhere. You can get hit crossing the road or get in a car accident, but we take it very safe with his choices in climbing, but we allow him to take some risks as well and to climb on boulder problems that might be kind of high off the ground, where if you slip, you're going to take a bad fall, or in traditional climbing where you're putting in your own gear, like there's certain falls where you could hurt yourself, and that's part of climbing. As climbers, we understand that, so we have a little bit better view into that, and we also understand his abilities very well, and we've seen him in these situations many times, and so we have a very good understanding of what he's capable of and where his limits are, and so we can play that pretty well, but you never know for sure, so it's a tough one.
One example is, for instance, in traditional climbing where you place your own gear, And we have El Dorado Canyon really close to our house. We're lucky to have that place. So this is where mostly Bays has led traditional climbs. But so one example of just, assessing the risk, like maybe Bays will start on top rope and then do a mock lead of a climb. And then Matt, being the more experienced traditional climber, you've done that, yeah, with the Evictor or Surf's Up, or not with Surf's Up, but Evictor.
No, with Evictor, I didn't do mock lead.
Well, with some climbs, he'll be on top rope and then he'll place some gear, and then Matt will go up and check his gear to see if it's good, or even if Bays is leading something a little lower than his limits, then Matt will follow to check his gear and verify, which pieces were good, or he'll give him some tips on how to make certain pieces better. And so, that's one example. So obviously traditional climbing is very risky, but, if you do it in those stages, then you can kind of build some trust, and he can learn to trust his own gear as well.
And that's how Bays just pointed out, like at this point, he reliably places solid pieces, but
so I like to have my dad check.
Yeah, and
for sure.
Into traditional climbing, that was when we were doing more of the like checking and doing it together to make sure that, and giving feedback.
So to just kind of share back the different things that I heard, because I think kind of you're sharing this experience as a family with Bays and for you and around you, Bays. But I think these are also just great learnings about the outdoors and about just kids in general. So some of the themes that I heard you talk about were, one is an accurate assessment of Bays's ability that's really based on seeing him in these different situations over time and seeing him succeed. And so having a pretty good idea of what he's capable of. And then another one is just controlled risk environments, like making decisions about what are acceptable risks overall, and still, providing a guidance in that. And for listeners who aren't climbers, although we're talking about these extreme difficulty limits, still what I hear Matt talking about is really that even within this kind of extreme difficulty of climbing, there's a range of risk that can be assessed and narrowed to an acceptable range. And then Sandy, I also heard you just sharing about this idea of also just like setting up for success, like practicing in incremental steps. And so you might take a climb and try it on a top rope in a controlled environment. Maybe there's a mock lead, and then just kind of leading up to that final thing. Like, again, great for climbing, but awesome for parenting. I mean, this is like a great formula for parenting in any situation, when your kiddos are growing up and kind of branching out. So Bays, how about for you? What do you envision for yourself over these next years? What are your aspirations as a climber? What really gets you excited looking forward?
I am really excited to just like do a bunch of like outdoor climbing and stuff, but also I am really psyched on the comps and stuff. And like I just also like in a few years I think I'll be able to like maybe like possibly qualify for like the World Cup series or like maybe the Olympics and stuff, and I kind of aspire to like try to, because that would be really cool. But like I just want to have a lot of fun in like outdoor climbing and calm climbing and stuff.
Thank you for sharing those things. So interesting, just to reflect back to you, Bays, you're completely willing to commit to having fun in the outdoors. And again, this has been thematic. I've heard you talk about this on videos and in all sorts of things, like how much you enjoy being in the outdoors, being with your friends in the outdoors, just the climbing environment, the things that occur out there. And you're like, I am all in. And then you're like, and maybe, nationals or the Olympics as well. Just to reflect back to you, I would invite you to just have that same enthusiasm, because you're on an amazing track towards the biggest goals out there. How does it feel to you, Bays, to have people look at you for inspiration at 12 years old, like, wow, wow. I mean, that's kind of like, people say that they look at your videos or they look at you at a climbing area and they're just like, wow. How does that feel to be looked at with that sort of wonder and as kind of a mentor in the climbing world?
Say what you feel. I mean,
yeah, say what you feel. I'm gonna say something that reflects what I'm seeing in your body language, which is like you're not that comfortable with it. It's not like something where you're out in front with your ego or something saying I am.
Like
What was that? Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I'm like out at some place, like somebody like recognizes me and then says like hi, and like sometimes I don't really like. Oh, well, I think it's nice, but like, well, sometimes I don't really like feel too comfortable with that because like I don't really want to be like too like recognized or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think one way to put it maybe is that like he doesn't like to be the center of attention.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I completely hear you. And Baze, the thing that keeps coming through to me is like the love of the sport and the love of the outdoors. It's like that's what drives you forward, and that is in and of itself, that is a beautiful thing for people to be around because it gets other people psyched about being in the outdoors and doing their best. And just listening to you today on things like your anchor and your visualization, those are things that people can take forward as they pursue their climbing careers or whatever it may be. Before we started this call together, I said, after you talked about that, I said, okay, Baze, before we start talking, let's take a minute and visualize what a really successful conversation would look like today. And I watched you just like drop in the same way that you do probably before you're getting on a hard climb and just kind of visualize what that conversation would look like. So in that visualization, is there anything that happened that hasn't happened in this conversation yet that you want to make sure unfolds to make this an awesome experience for you?
No, I just want like an awesome experience.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And Sandy and Matt, anything else just in the last minute or two that I haven't asked you about yourselves or Baze? I mean, there's so much to tell. We could spend an hour with every one of you individually going deep, and I know you all have stories to tell. But anything else that you think would be important or interesting for our listeners to hear?
I think one thing that we think about with climbing, and maybe it extends beyond that, but is trying to like develop and foster a lifelong love for the sport and something that he'll be able to carry forward, decades into the future. And, if he chooses a different path, that's fine too. But like being able to like find these passions and explore them and love them. And I think that's a really powerful ability for any individual. And so that's one of the like kind of top motivating factors that as parents we think about with respect to him and his journey through climbing.
Yeah. And just making these moments very special and, limiting like any negativity or, criticisms, like don't use these times to like point out faults, like, oh, Beige, you should really work on this or, whatever, but just try to make, I don't know, just like make them memorable experiences and definitely like don't push too hard, let him go the pace he wants. And if he wants, like, some days when we're out climbing, when he was younger, especially, he just, or even now, I guess sometimes he would just choose to not climb. He would just say, I'm not in the mood to climb. And sometimes it was just, he wanted to play or build little forts or, stack some rocks or whatever, and that's fine. But just try to like,
I was taking a rest day or something.
Right. Yeah. But just let it be good, positive, memorable experiences and make it fun too. Like we try to do games while we're hiking. Sometimes the approaches are pretty long, so we'll do like a lot of word games or I don't know, just like we just try to like make them as positive as we can, because these days are limited when they're little and when they're with us.
I love it. I love it. Well, Baze, let me close with one final question for you. If you could be like the designer of your most ideal day in the outdoors, just describe that day and lean in a little bit so I can make sure I hear you on this one. Like if you had like the magic of creating your best outdoor day, what would it entail? Like just start to finish. Just give me the highlights.
What I would ideally want is that like a ton of amazing climbing areas are really close by each other. And then it would be like a day like I would just like go to one area, just like climb some, go to another area, climb another, just like not have like places like Margalef or so, like be like so far away from like Waco or like the Red River Gorge and stuff. So like have them be really close and then just be able to climb. And then also like you would like family and like you two, and then also some of my like just like friends hanging out and just like a really like nice day. Like, and yeah.
I love it. I love it. Friends, family, good weather, and the magic of all the best climbs right next to each other with no approach. I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. Well, Baze Wilder, your name precedes you in metaphor and in actuality. I love the name too. Just like what a gift to have the last name Wilder. I mean, it's incredible. It's such a good namesake for you. I so appreciate you spending time with me and our listeners today. And I just appreciate you sharing all of your stories. Matt, Sandy, Baze, you all have a great day.
Yeah, thank you so much for like reaching out and doing this. This is super fun. It's nice to talk with you and like meet you and stuff.
You bet. I hope you enjoyed hearing from this avid adventurer as much as I did. Join me every week as we continue to explore the inner landscapes and outer accomplishments of our guests. And if you know someone who you think would make a great interview, please reach out to me at the email in the show notes. I look forward to reconnecting next week.